welcome back into Cherry Picking. Babs and I are back with the NHL draft this week. We did this like a month ago with the first 16 picks. Now we're going to do all 32 picks. The first overall pick, I mean, it's the same.
Yep. Mike, it's got to be Matthew Schaefer. I think everyone's talked about other people maybe hopping into this one, but it has to be Michael Schaefer. It's because he's smart and he's a good puck-moving defenseman, and that's it. Yeah,
people forgot about him because of, or maybe not forgot about him, but maybe forget about how good he is because of what happened to him at the World Juniors. But again, great player, easily going first. Sharks, number 2, Michael Misa.
He's the other guy that some people are saying can go 1. I just can't see it. Very good player, though, exceptionally talented. I've watched him play in person. You just see the intangibles.
I will say, Friedman came out with a report today that said Frondell could be going too. There's rumors, but he also said everyone lies around this time of the year, which is very true as well. Kind of smoke screens here and there. They do it all the time in the NFL draft. Number 3, this one's a lot different than our last time we did this. We had Parter Martone going 3 to the Blackhawks. Now we have Anton Frondell.
Yeah, he's played against men. We've been able to see him make moves against them and put up points in the Hockey Allsvenskan, and now next year he'll be playing in the SHL, so hopefully it's a stepping stone.
Yeah, we'll see a Swede join this Chicago core. It seems like at this point, the top 3 are pretty much in lockstep. We don't know really the order. 4, we're going to keep this one. We were kind of early on Desnoyers, and we're going to keep him at 4 to Utah.
Yeah, his stock rose. Memorial Cup, we had talked about and previewed it, and then look what happened. He has an exceptional coach, which has helped him elevate his game a lot, and he can go in and just be an instant potential impact player for Utah.
Yeah, and then this one different because we had Frondell actually going to Nashville last time. Barry Trotz maybe going towards a Swedish center, but now he's actually going back towards a U.S. national development player, Boston College, James Higgins.
Yeah, big draft dropper. A lot of people have him dropping even further than this, but he can play both ways, and he's been playing, again, another situation where he's playing against older players and still able to perform.
Yeah, and we had this pretty much in the same order, just with Martone falling out of our top 6. Jake O'Brien goes to the Flyers instead of James Higgins.
Yeah, I watched him play at the Top Prospects game. Again, he is a player who's able to play hard, and he's also smart, so he can play in the phone booth, which is something that you can't teach people how to do.
Yeah, fair enough. And to be honest, look, we said this last time, this crop of 3 to 8 is such a crapshoot, with which centers are going to go where. I think we have a pretty good idea here with like a week outside of the draft, but still, like Roger McQueen could go to Philly easily. I could see that happening as well. You could see these two being flipped, even Brady Martin as well. But we have Roger McQueen, a guy like Brady Martin that has had a lot of injury concerns, going 7th to Boston.
Yeah, tall players will jump in the draft past their rankings. So we've just gone ahead and done that already because the NHL's obsessed with size, and that's how you see certain players who are very skilled on maybe your favorite team drop in the draft when they should not have.
Fair enough, yeah. Seattle Kraken, we had the first defenseman going off the board in this one. I think we've changed our beat on this one. Not totally, but I think it's just in terms of where this guy is going to fall instead. Brady Martin going to Seattle.
Yeah, people are high on him. Some people are saying 4. One thing I will state within this is because there's so many players in the same position group or guys who can play center and or wing, it's a bit of a crapshoot. But he is a skilled, hardworking player.
And then our biggest faller, certainly in this draft, and compared to our last one, Parter Martone falling 9 to Buffalo. This was a guy that could have gone first overall come the World Juniors. Maybe not that high, but certainly a top 5 pick earlier in the year.
Yeah, some people have him dropping. I'm not sure where I completely stand yet today because we'll see more information roll out through the next few weeks. I think he's a very high IQ player, and I think that at the World Championship, I think it might have actually increased his stock. But Buffalo would be winning by getting this. This would be huge. Yeah.
This would be huge for Buffalo, and if someone wanted to maybe move up and get a right winger a little bit earlier, it's just you pay a premium for centers, and there's a lot of good ones at the top of this draft this year that are just going to go a lot earlier. It's just kind of how the cookies are going to crumble.
A lot of big ones we have to add. A lot of big centers, and that's like crack.
Yeah. The Anaheim Ducks picking the last pick in the teens, in the single digits, you could say. Anaheim Ducks, Victor Eklund falling as well.
Yeah, but that's going to have to happen here because one of the wingers has to move down and the centers are going to move up. So it's just how it's going to go. But he, again, another player falls into the same thing as these Europeans where they've been playing against older competition and we've been able to see them perform. It's the small ice to big ice situation is why guys like this aren't higher. Highly skilled player, without a doubt. But can he play in the smaller ice?
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Pittsburgh Penguins, Kayshawn Aitchison. We had Jackson Smith here last time. Just a left-handed defenseman. That's what Pittsburgh's looking for, and it seems like Aitchison has just moved up everybody's draft boards.
Yeah, this kid's nails. I've heard stories outside of the rink about this guy. Very hardworking player, and he was willing to go into the top prospects game and literally go to war with anybody on the ice. And I love to see that. He played aggressively. He'll hit guys. I think this is definitely the type of player that Pittsburgh needs, given that they had the failed half rebuild and now they're in the full one.
Yeah, if there's some sort of bet you can make in terms of second defenseman taken off the board, I would go with Keyshawn Aitchison, even like his underdraft position as well.
Yep.
At number 12, the New York Rangers. We had Roger McQueen here, but I don't think everyone's as concerned as his injuries as they were earlier, so we moved him up. And we have Jackson Smith here because I think the Rangers are going to be moving on from Condre Miller and maybe Zach Jones, depending on if it's those two specifically. It's going to be two defensemen, I believe, and they also might sign Gavrikov. But this is a good way to kind of start rebuilding your decor.
Yeah, they have to start adding some younger pieces in there because they're in the awkward situation where it's a kind of a fuck around and find out, where they have to add some stuff to try and change the blood in the room because it just hasn't worked, and they've been moving pieces out like crazy. And he might be one of the more like NHL ready type of players just because of the physicality that he brings. So I would be very happy if I'm a New York Rangers fan to get him.
This is an interesting one because we had Aitchison here last time, but I think Detroit just goes with an explosive kind of best kind of talent. Carter Bear could go earlier in this draft, to be honest, because he is an elite talent. Had some injury concerns at the end of his last junior season, but I think this is a good fit because I honestly could see Victor Eklund falling here and kind of the reverse Carter Bear going 10th.
Yeah, there's a lot of gambling going this year because of the injury-related players, and there's a lot of them more than years previous. So you're going to see the draft board's going to it's going to explode. But Carter Bear in other years would probably be a little bit higher up. But you have just so much movement right now, and some of these bigger players it's a higher price tag you pay just for size.
The Blue Jackets, I'm going to butcher his name. Murtka.
Yeah.
Excuse me. He's a beast. He's massive. Columbus needs defensemen. We had your boy Boumediene here, but I think he falls a little bit with Murtka falling in our draft. Just seeing how much people love Aitchison and Jackson Smith at this point.
No, and I think the Combine also allowed things to shift around a little bit, and they're obsessed with size. There's that quarterback that potentially might get taken who was playing quarterback and potentially going D1, and he also then went to the Combine, then everybody got so obsessed with him because of his size and athleticism, who's going to probably be a second or third round pick. You'll see the exact same thing after the Combine. And I think this player right here, you're going to get somebody that can go in and just be your shutdown defenseman. And it's very telling that if you look through this list, just look at the heights. Yeah. They're all fucking tall pretty much.
Yeah, Jack Nesbitt next for Vancouver. We had this last time as well, and I think it makes sense. I don't think Vancouver's necessarily going to move on from Elias Pettersson, but I don't think Pettersson's going to be there forever, and this is a good way to rebuild, especially if you continue to move out centers like they have.
Yeah, I watched him play live. I like him. Like I said this last time. Yeah, my sell job's that. Looks good.
The Habs have back-to-back picks here. We said I think they're going to trade one of these picks, but if they don't, I like these two options for them. Justin Carbonneau and Lyndon Lakovic. Both of these guys I think are good picks for the Habs.
Yeah, the Habs are in a luxury position right now, so they can, and because of players following and stuff, they might get a better asset than even these two at 16, 17. They're in a fantastic spot.
And then also, I've seen mock drafts who have them taking defensemen. I mean, they've taken so many defensemen over the years. I think just continuing to build on these kind of forwards. And Kent Hughes, I feel, hasn't had a bad draft pick yet. So waiting to see for that. Maybe it's going to come this year. Hopefully not. Moving back into the second half of the draft. So these are fresh picks now coming in. The Calgary Flames, a pick from the New Jersey Devils. Colin Potter, this is kind of a boomer bust type of pick, but the Flames have a ton of picks. So I imagine they kind of have the opportunity, or one of the few teams that have the opportunity in the first round to kind of go after it.
Yeah, high risk picks for them are a little bit more comfortable. So taking a center again that can play both ways, and that's why I like taking the NCAA guys if you are a team that's trying to find a shutdown center. I mean, they just have the experience, and you've seen them play against the older player. But one of the players I probably looked at the least, but he's been jumping up. So
Logan Hensler, I know the Blues going to be looking to build that blue line, continue to build it. Probably going to have to move some guys as well, so Logan Hensler kind of makes sense. I've seen mixed reports. This guy I've seen in top 15 of mock drafts. I've also seen and heard Corey Pronman talk about this guy falling as well. But I think he fits well here with the Blues.
Yeah, teams want to try and find a right-handed defenseman. If you can draft one early, it's always an advantage situation. And another college player, which I think next year's draft we're just going to see even more college players on this list.
And then here's your boy, Sacha Boumediene. Great puck skills, but I've heard he's a little chaotic.
Yeah,
he's a little chaotic at this point.
He's big, and he's got to just come into his body more, but we've seen him play very, very well at times. And also, we discussed other factors that lead into this, but another player who I think just given time, he won't be ready this year or next, but maybe 3 years from now, he can slot in and be effective.
Okay. Ottawa, taking a center here, This one's tough for me because I think Braden Coots is probably the best player available, and with how many centers have been taken already in this draft, if we're going off of this makes sense, even though they are pretty stacked at center.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to go best available, and it's something I think that gets washed away a little bit in the discussions of, yes, if you're going down, say, 7 players just to take a defenseman, that's probably not the best move organizationally to do.
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
Yeah, I agree with taking just the best available.
And to be honest, you're looking at the Sens centers right now, Stützle, Cousins, Pinto, like, this guy gets drafted 3 years, he's probably going to be able to move in there. One of those guys will most likely not be on the Senators. So the Flyers, I know they have a lot of goalies. Like they have Ursin, they have Fedotov, but they all suck. So I think it makes sense to take Ravensburg, another team that has a ton of first round
Yes,
picks.
and it's a comfortable position. I had the exact same thought when I was looking through and trying to mock here because they have to shore that up, and they don't have a guy that they can be comfortable with all season. So you have to try and take a risk here to solve that problem. And as we know, it's not going to solve the problem next year, but they have to increase their probability there.
The Nashville Predators taking a chance on Malcolm Spence, kind of a tough second half of the year, or just year in general, but still someone who's seen highly regarded as a first-round pick.
Oh, I love this kid. This kid's nails. I love him, absolutely. Any team taking him is going to get a great player who's going to work hard.
The Kings, Will Horkoff, honestly, this just fits the mold of who the Kings are. I know the management has kind of been shaken up a bit, but this is who the Kings take. Tall, big centers, just like Quinn Byfield. I feel like they kind of go with another project here in Will Horkoff.
Well, and you have a success rate of players whose dads played in the NHL. We've seen that as a repeated factor, so it is a safer trend to go with. But the kid is a very, I would say, hard-nosed player. So
the Blackhawks go on Cole Reshny, a guy that's stock has honestly been shooting up the draft boards the entire second half of the year.
Yeah, the U18s is a very good stepping stone for a lot of guys, and if they happen to go there and crush it, we've seen it year and year again. That is probably the best stepping stone to have outside of the World Juniors.
Nashville Predators, Blake Fiddler here, another right-handed defenseman. Again, size is just beats all. So that's what we're going to see a lot in this first round, I think.
No,
right?
without a doubt. Nashville has to try and rebuild.
Yeah.
So they've got to bring in big pieces and try and shore things up.
The Caps, we have the first Russian off the board here, Daniil Prokhorov. I think this makes the most sense with who the Caps have drafted in the past. Obviously had a lot of success with Russians in Alexander Ovechkin, but that's not the only reason why we're taking this guy.
This kid would be drafted higher every single year if they were at the World Juniors. They don't have that bump anymore, and having guys play over in the MHL, you are having players, they're being scouted still, but I think all of these Russian players would be ranked higher if they were participating in the World Juniors because we'd get to see them against the best available.
Very fair. Someone's brother who's already in the NHL, Henry Brushowitz, going to the Winnipeg Jets, played on the London Knights, played not with Sam Dickinson, but just an elite defensive core.
You and I watched him play live, so he stood out as a player that was just doing the small things right, and watching him take it up and off the glass. Like, you look through and his stats aren't super flashy, but it's the small things that aren't recorded in those areas that I thought really show this guy being a potential really solid, safe NHL defenseman.
And at 29, the Hurricanes take another, I feel like this player's built for a Rob Brindamore-led Carolina Hurricanes, hard forechecking, defensive-minded team in Milton Gastrin, I believe his name's pronounced.
Yep. There's a lot of Swedes in the draft this year. We've seen a lot of them that are probably going to go higher. Overall, when you just watch the player play, it just seems like he is that type of 2-zone player, or 3-zone player that Rod likes. So, yeah.
And then the Sharks, honestly, I could see them going defenseman here as well because I know they've been trying to move up for Schaefer, but I think Bill Zonin is a great pick as well here.
No, yeah, and it's hard for them to make that hard choice right now because we don't know how, we know it's going to be defenseman first overall, but everything else after that, they have an opportunity to make some moves if they really do want to.
And then the Flyers, we think are going to be grabbing the second Russian in the draft here.
Yeah, this kid has sick hands.
Okay,
and
we love that.
Every single time you have a Russian player who has that flash, I think it's worth taking the risk on. And Philly has been very good with dealing with Russian prospects.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's a safer pick
sense
on their part as opposed to other teams that would definitely be a little bit more opposed.
Yeah, I would think if you're looking at how the KHL has gone over the last few years, looking at teams like Philly and Montreal who have actually been able to negotiate Russians to get over here, if you're looking to make predictions, those are good bets to make right now, considering the relationship, not with every team, is as good as the Flyers and the Canadians have. They have these Russian correspondents. The last pick in the draft, Calgary Flames, Simon Wang, he's a tower. 6'6" on Oshawa. I love this pick for Calgary, especially because if they do move on from Rasmus Anderson, if they can't come to terms on a contract, they're going to need to build their defensive unit fast.
This kid is tall, like 6'6". Like, he is tall. He'll probably get taller. And one thing that we've seen repeatedly is that they love the size, but the long stick and the ability to break up the puck. We watched him do it. He is a bit raw. There's work to be done here, but he's young, and you can start to build on those things. And for tall players, they tend to mature and develop their game just a little bit of a slower rate.
Yeah, you need those big towering defensemen on those deep playoff runs. And like we've seen Colton Parayko, although pretty inconsistent, he was on Team Canada for a reason and actually played pretty solid on Team Canada as well. But that's it. Full 32 pick first round NHL mock draft 2025. Matthew Schaefer's certainly going first, but to be honest, the rest of these picks could all be wrong. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Let us know where you guys agree with us, disagree with us, and we'll see you guys in the next video.